Shalom. First, I'd like to start off by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honor to teachers, elders, and the boss of great millstone, likewise, brothers, put out this truth. Faithfully, fearlessly, feed the sheep, and do brothers and sisters tuning in. Shalom. Today's lesson's titled The Curses versus Process of Elimination. And this is going to be a two-part lesson going into this question that was left on one of my lessons that I put out there. And it's from a Jake, I assume, named Elijah Brown, 3551. And he put, was American slavery not Jacob's trouble? Was Jim Crow not Jacob's trouble? Was the destruction of Black Wall Street not Jacob's trouble? The Israelites have been mass slaughtered for centuries. Okay, and you have a lot of these Jakes, they're going to a lot of different platforms, different camps like IUIC, ICPK, GOCC, now defunct, Sakari, and a whole lot of these other, groups out there that may be confusing them, because over here, many lessons have been made on this. In fact, I'm going to put a series of links to the elders who have gone over this topic many times about Jacob's trouble. Okay, and while the bringing out of it by each individual sounds slightly different, it is all still the same, because at the end of the day, okay, we are under the curses, okay, soon in Deuteronomy 28, which I'm going to go into that. And we also have a time period known as Jacob's trouble, the 12 tribe of Israel, so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Latinos, whose seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, having tribulation unlike anything that we've ever experienced in all of the lives that we have regenerated in, including this current life that we're in. Okay, so you Jakes need to, put down the joysticks, need to focus on learning, okay, exactly what's taking place, because we have not gone through Jacob's trouble. We are at the beginning of what we know as Jacob's trouble. Okay, at the beginning of it, because the curses are about to come off of us and go into Esau. Okay, but let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's start off actually with the book of Deuteronomy 28, and we're gonna start off with verse 68, and you can see, okay, to answer some of his questions here, which is, was American slavery not Jacob's trouble? Let's go into the slavery part of it, this particular question. And it reads, and the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way thereof I spoke unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondsmen and bondswomen, and no man shall buy you. So no, we're not going to be rescued out of this situation. Okay, we are. Anybody, okay, in these other tribes, when they think of so-called African Americans, so-called blacks over here in the West, the first thing that comes to mind is slavery. No matter how much they smile on your face, no matter how much they shake your hand, no matter how much they cheer you on or, idolize you if you're a so-called black superstar or sports athlete or whatever the case is like that, in the back of their mind, they know we were slaves. In fact, we are still slaves. Okay, so there's a degree of looking down on us. They look down on you, even though you might be richer than them, more famous than them. They still look down on us because of that stigma that's associated with us, which is that we are the descendants of slaves. Okay, let's go into verse 67. It says, okay, because he talks about Jim Crow, and we know about the Jim Crow era, which was segregation, and how we were looked at as 3/5 of a man, and all the horrific things that went about during that time, which those things are still occurring right now. Okay, it's just that back in the day, it was just very blatant. Okay, very blatant, the hatred of these Edomites, and we're going to see that coming back again in Jacob's trouble when we go into that part of this series. Okay, it says, in the morning. This is second Salakia. This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 67. It says, in the morning thou shalt say, what power it were even, and that even though thou shalt say, what power it were morning, for the fear of thine heart, whereat thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. So this is talking about the fact that we will live in a society under constant fear, especially as a so-called black man, where pretty much people don't value your life. Okay. And this was especially, in our minds during the Jim Crow era, where, these Edomites, these so-called white people, they would come in, gangs and grab you, kidnap you, and next thing you know, you're in a newspaper, hanging from a tree. And they used to put these pictures, in the newspaper. And, they'd have a trial if they somebody, talked about who did it, and they would get away scot-free. Okay, so there was no ramification for the murders that Esau committed against us. Okay, when we go to verse 48 in Deuteronomy 28, it says, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemy, said the Lord Yahweh Shemashai, which the Lord Yahweh Shemashai shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So we have no choice but to turn to our enemy, the enemy that will kill you with the sword, poison your food, rape your kids, you rape your wife, rape even you. We have no choice but to go to them. We have no power in our hand. Okay, and this is part of that post-slavery treatment that we're getting. We know the era as the Jim Crow era. Okay, and that still is not Jacob's trouble. We go into verse 25. Okay, and yeah, I'm jumping all over the place. It says, the Lord Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So we're scattered. Okay, so identity is not really just only Negroes or Latinos, okay, or Native Americans. We could look like the other tribes too, and catching the same type of help. Okay, when you go into verse 43, it reads, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Okay, and this is going into, he talked about the destruction of Black Wall Street, and you talk about that would happen out there, and they call it the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. Okay, where Jake supposedly was doing pretty well afterward. Okay, of course, during the time in slavery, when it was obvious that we were slaves, we did a lot of the accounting and the business transaction, or created a lot of the things that what you see in modernized America today. So of course, all what happened, the same thing how you see these companies that go over to China, and they took the patents and they took the process and the way how to create things. But rather than build it in their country, which will cost 100 times more, okay, they took it over to China and they can get it, penny on the dollar, and then come back and make massive amount of profit. Okay, so the Chinese, guess what they do? They basically kept the patent and the ability to create these things, and they create their own version of the products. Okay, so Jakes, we did all of those things during slavery. Okay, so we came out and we just simply took our skill and just build something called Black Wall Street. And at that time, the Edomites were going through hell. They weren't doing as well as they thought they should be doing. Okay, the low level Edomites. And so what they did is in their jealous rage, they went and they slaughtered a lot of Jakes. Okay, so that was part of the curses. Deuteronomy 28 goes into those curses, and the question that this Jake is asking, okay, is in reference to that. We can go into Jeremiah 50 and prove, okay, that we are under the curses still, and there's going to be a trade, okay, basically trading places between us and Esau. Okay, it says, behold, I am against thee, O most proud, said the Lord power of hosts, for the day is come, the time that I will visit thee, and the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around about him, which we see in the systematic breakdown of Great Babylon, America right now. The Lord Yahweh Shemashai is putting it ahead, okay, of Caesar Nero Trump to do this, okay. It says, thus said the Lord of hosts, Yahweh Shemashai, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were pressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go, which is speaking of the tribes. Okay? So it's talking about the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. We're still here in captivity. Who's doing all the menial work here? Who's being persecuted? Who's being blamed for everything? Us. Okay? It says, their Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts, Yahweh Shai, is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. So the Babylonians have to pay. Esau has to pay for what he has done. Okay? He has to pay. Okay? It says, the sword is upon the Chaldeans, said the Lord Yahweh Shai, upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they should dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they should be dismayed. As powerful as the United States military is, they're going to lose World War III horribly. Okay? Horribly. And we're seeing right now the sissifying of the Edomites, men, okay, here in this country, okay, or here in this land, I should say. And right now, they're not as mighty as they used to be. Okay, so this right there, that shows the whole tribe of Israel has been through this captivity under the oppression of the Edomites. We go into Lamentation 4 and start verse 21. We can see where this is going to be a trade-off. It says, rejoice, be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Oz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee, and thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. Okay, so they don't have that warrior mentality that they had, say about 80 years ago, during World War II. What you're seeing right now is just ignorance and stupidity. That they're going to have a UFC fight at the White House coming up, I think, later on. Come on, man. It says, the punishment of thy iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thy iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. And how is that being discovered? Through the prophets, going out down the highway in the Bible and this unicorn preaching. We show pictures, we go through the scriptures, and we use today's headline and yesterday's headline in regards to what this man is doing. So this man is being exposed. Okay, so Jake, you're looking. I know your desire is that we've gone through Jacob's trouble, and you can't remember when in your regenerative state, or a reincarnated state, as they were using the world. Remember, getting whipped or beaten or going through this stuff. For you in your head, you're probably saying to yourself, my great-great-grandparents, they went through that, but I didn't have to go through that. We went through it. Okay, we went through it. Okay, so no, if you live, you will not escape Jacob's trouble. Okay, we all gonna go through it. All right, let's go close out 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and start verse 1. And it reads, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the sign pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it's the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So we looking at what's going on in the world. They trying to make this, Charlie Brown into a deity. Okay. And, it's going to create this problem and that problem. And you see what's going on there in Gaza. You see what's going on with Israel, the fact that the state of Israel don't want to accept the Palestinian state, even though their allies have said, we recognize it. They're saying, nah. Okay. So we know this is going to result into, World War III, which the United States is going to be drawn into. It says, therefore, when there should be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world all over the place. There's people just marching. The Edomites now are crying, I can't do this, I can't do that. I don't have a job, I don't do this and that, I can't eat, I can't afford this and that. Now they're crying. Okay? Everybody on the earth is now crying because of wicked are in rulership. It says, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like us, all that is made in the world had a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So we already know what happened in the past is going to happen again in the future. We understand the outcome, or we know the outcome of everything. It's been revealed to us. We know the outcome. So this is the reason why we can confidently come out and we can preach it, because we already know there's no hope here. You people can struggle all you want. There's no hope. There's going to be mass death, mass murder, mass raping, mass a whole lot of starvation and other things. And it says, even so, the times also of the highest are plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works and endings in effect and signs. And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my border, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. So there's a set of people on this earth, Hebrew Israelites that is, that have been chosen already, sealed. No matter what, they're going to be saved. It's just the way it is. Okay, and there's those that just not going to be saved, no matter what. Okay, so you can see here the believers will believe that these things are going to come to pass. So the believers are pinning the hope to be saved by Yahweh, by Shemashai, to be saved by the Mashiach. Okay, it says, then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. Hey, they living nice. They're worrying about what titles they're gonna get. The next house they're gonna buy, the big mansions, and the idolization of people. Everywhere they go, people know their name, people shake their hands, people know who they are, they're popular, blah 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 blah. Listen to what it says. It says, for such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me. So if your life is going really well, you're rich and popular and everyone likes you like that, then you probably would assume you don't need to love Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You don't care. Okay? You don't care because you're looking for the love of the oppressor, Esau the Edomite, the so-called white man, the same man that had the Jim Crow era, the same man that put you in slavery, the same man. Okay, going to this brother said the Israelites have been slaughtered for centuries. Okay, yeah, but that's still not Jacob's trouble, brother. We're gonna go into that, okay? Because there's a whole lot of scriptures for Jacob's trouble and showing you just how terrible it can be, and that's just the best I can describe it. Okay, it says, and they that have loathed my law while they had yet liberty, and when as yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not but despised it. Y'all still eating shellfish. Okay, you having sex on the Sabbath. You committing adultery. You don't even understand the process of that. You're still stealing, lying, murdering. You're still doing all these things. Okay, all these things. And you have the opportunity right now. People will drive past us every week to look at us, and I caught a dude yesterday, and he's not the only one that's done it, trying to videotape me from behind and taking pictures and stuff like that, because they see you as just, something that's like a year-round Halloween, man. That's what they basically see you as out there, like a year-round Halloween costume standing up out there. Okay, he says, the same must know it after death by pain. Okay, so this is where we're going to go into Jacob's trouble. Okay, this is where we're going to go into Jacob's trouble for the second part of this. It says, and therefore be thou not curious how the ungodly should be punished, and when, but inquire how the righteous should be saved, whose the world is, and for whom the world is created. So we already know how the wicked is going to be, destroyed. We already know how the unbelievers are going to go down. What concern is us? What concern about us? Are we going to get beamed up? Are we going to eat? I don't like to be hungry. I don't want to starve to death. And I sure as hell don't want to get chopped up into pieces or put in one of Esau's prison and get bungied. Okay? So be worrying about the elect. Okay? So that's the first part of that's to answer your questions here, Jake, in regards to American slavery, okay, Wall Street, and Jim Crow. No, it's not Jacob's trouble. We're gonna go into that. If that don't scare them, if that don't open your mind up, then I don't know where else. Click on these links that I have put in there. This goes to the Elder Protestant pages like that. You can get more understanding like that, and stop going to these other camps that are entertaining you and not teaching you. Okay, so Lord willing, the was satisfied to close the by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Stay tuned for part 2. Shalom.